All right, Chelsea fans, welcome back to another episode. That's right, of the London is Blue podcast. Hopefully, your favorite Chelsea podcast out there, and a part of the Men in Blazers Media Network. Dan, along with Nick and Nath, and we are getting into Chelsea's 2-1 victory. It was in the bounce against Lincoln City in the League Cup. Chelsea punching their way into the fourth round against the fighting Lincolns, making sure we could make it past them and get into a deeper round of the competition. Always good to advance. Not every big club in the Premier League can say that they did that. So at least there's one dub there that we can appreciate. But I think we'll talk a little bit of League One, League Fun that we had tonight, or not tonight. We'll talk a little bit about how Maresca is trying to make do and who we think are those protected players at the moment and who we think maybe needs to start featuring over these next run of games heading in the international break. And then we'll talk a little bit about ups and downs, whose stock is a bit on the rise after recent performances and who is maybe struggling and kind of signaling that they might not be the finished article or a Chelsea level article at this point, given that we've seen a couple of games now and have enough footage on a few of these players to make some decisions. But look, Nick, as always, we'd like to throw a couple of three-word match reviews in there to set the stage and expectation for how listeners thought about the match and how we thought about the match. So why don't you give us a couple of listener ones and then give us yours as well.
Yes, the listeners. James, just James, with Hurt to Watch. Correct. Kyle with third tier performance. Clever. Ringo, 2 G's, with Streets Won't Forget. PU with Wins a Win. MJ Pennington with Barely Made It. And then FTC TK. That's a mouthful right there. Bring on Grimsby, Giant Slayers, Grimsby. So that may be tough for us, but yeah, it's a little doomier and gloomier on Yield Discord after this one.
It's kind of, again, it is a win. Like, let's just celebrate that fact. But what did you go with? You had one as well, Nick.
I sure did. I went with Cup Set over Lincoln. Hey guys, we beat Lincoln, and I feel like given their incredible form, like just an incredible upset. So yeah.
Nath, did you have a three-word match review as well?
Yeah, mine is, what was that? I'm still trying to figure it out. I'll take that win. Of course I will. But it was hard to watch. It really was.
Correct.
Look, I'm going to try to be a little bit more positive than you two. I went, Ty's your guy. Look, Maresca, he came in and he got it done for you. And not every player on the pitch today can say that they got it done for Maresca. So just want to point out, this was a good performance from him, and you should ride all of those for as long as you can.
I just like to lodge a formal complaint about you guys are being negative. I am being sarcastic as shit. I'm not being negative. I think for the scorers at home, sarcasm, that's what Nick's bringing to the table tonight.
Conan O'Brien had very interesting thoughts about sarcasm, but we won't get into that here. What we will talk about is the League One, League Fun situation that we got into. This is exactly what we wanted. We wanted a lower league team. We wanted an opportunity to get a nice draw, relaxing fixture, an opportunity to just stretch our legs, to rotate some players. And it was exactly not NOT what we got in this fixture at all, considering the fact that Lincoln City went ahead first in this game. We saw some incredibly terrible goalkeeping that I think gave most of us fits, scares, tremors, and a bunch of just mental images we will never forget for the rest of our lives. And look, Maresca goes into halftime. The team comes out of a cannon and does fix the game, does go out and get the result, gets the win, which is all we need at the end of the day. I did like the fact that Maresca was asked what he said at halftime, and his response to the official club website was, it's better if I don't say. So, I don't know, like, I at least appreciate Nick that he realized, like, shit had hit the fan and he needed to say something, and apparently said enough to, like, motivate this team to go do something differently that first, like, 10 to 15 minutes after halftime.
Yeah, I imagined that the locker room, this is just my imagination going crazy here. For the lawyers at home, I'm not saying this actually happened, just up here, just up top. I imagine that Maresca started fighting each player individually when they got into the locker room, and that after the Royal Rumble was over, they decided perhaps we should go score a couple of goals. And it, for whatever reason, the Royal Rumble worked, Nath. So, I
Yeah,
mean, the Royal Rumble that's up here, up top, why not?
I'm literally imagining Maresca beating players up, but yeah, he did say
Not
something
literally,
because
Nath. Imagination. Come on.
he did say something because he didn't make any changes. So the attitude changing and everything. And as the second half went by, we saw some tactical changes as well that made a complete difference. But yeah, honestly, it was overall painful to watch. But it's great to see that Maresca still can figure out how to turn games around after what he did against United, which was kind of worrying in many ways. So as much as this game was very weird and bad in a way, he kind of showed progress in this sense. And it's kind of good to see because the calendar, the schedule is getting busier and busier with Champions League and everything coming. And we need to, figure out how to win games when we are playing. And yeah, it wasn't pretty, it wasn't nice, but we won. So who said that? Wins a win. BU said wins a win. I'm gonna go with that. Fantastic. As bad as it was to watch, I'll take that.
Look, so the lineup that Maresca trotted out, I think, got initial questions. One, because Josh was not featured in the center back role. We later found out that it was due to illness, whether it was from watching Chelsea play recently or something else. Whatever it is, we hope that he feels better in very quick fashion. Was Jorgensen between the sticks with Rob Sanchez not being available due to his red card suspension? He'll be back for the game against Brighton. He had Malagusto, Trev Chalobah, West Fofana, and Hato as our back line. We saw Andre Santos pair with Enzo Fernandez, and then you saw Gittins, Bonanote, Garnacho, and then Ty George up top as our attacking kind of unit there. Estevao comes in the 60th minute. Cucurella comes in the 70th minute, along with Pedro Neto, and then Shim coming in. And then Reggie Walsh getting like the worst 10-second substitute appearance at the very tail end of this game. It's just why even bother at that moment, Nick?
Managers should get fined for doing that. That's my rule. I think you should absolutely get fined for a less than 1 minute substitution.
Yeah.
I just it's pointless. He's gonna have to run after the game anyway because that's what they do for the players who are on the bench. But it's just silly, and the game wasn't really under threat at that point either. It's not like we're time wasting. It just is dumb. So hated every second of that. The other thing I will mention, though, Dan, is we did get news before the game that
yes,
apparently, apparently we had a goof, and the competition, the FA let us know that Mark Guiu was eligible to play in the competition, and this was reported by Naz and others. And so, but it wasn't communicated in time for Guiu to make the bus, and so he wasn't there, but he hypothetically could have played today, although I'm sure the preparation was done without him leading the line. But now that we're into the next round, Dan, Guiu's back, baby. So we're in it now. This is just, if anyone wonders why people call this the Mickey Mouse Cup, it's like shit like this. It's just it's ridiculous.
It was just a goof. It was just a goof, guys. That's all it was.
A huge goof.
It's a huge goof. Look, I will say, nice to not see Joao Pedro in this game. I mean, that was something that I thought Maresca was just going to do because vibes. Didn't do it. Super appreciate. Didn't bring Caicedo in off the bench. I think that's excellent in terms of protecting Caicedo as one of our most valuable players in this team. So I do think there's this question, Nath, around Maresca has a lot of situations to deal with right now. Cole Palmer being out injured, Liam Delap on the long-term injury. You have Rob Sanchez not available for this game. You have, obviously the Levi Colwell situation for the entirety of the season. Benoit Shields not available. So you have this confluence of several injuries that are now starting to make selecting a lineup more and more difficult for Maresca. And I guess I wonder, just from your perspective, how you think he's handling that right now. And, are there things that you like that he did with this lineup? Or are there things that you didn't like that he did with this lineup?
Yeah, it's not looking good, bruv. I'm just gonna start like that. He's not.
I need more English slang from you, Nat. That is incredible. Highlight of the entire pod.
Yeah, I swear, I've been saying that for a while now. I don't feel like he manages the squad well since last year. I mean, it feels like some people are figuring it out like now that he's not a good squad manager. And I'm not saying that, oh, he hates the players and he disses the players or anything. I don't know if the players really like him or not. I get the vibe that they do. So it's not in that sense, but in the sense of the way he uses the players he's got. So we got Enzo Fernandez starting every game when he's clearly not at the physical. I don't even know if it's mental, but I'm gonna say it is because he's not that player. Other than him being deployed in a function that doesn't suit him, in a role that doesn't suit his best attributes. So it kind of doesn't make sense to me the way he keeps insisting on Enzo. I know he doesn't have Lavia. For tonight, he had Ollie Harrison on the bench. I don't know if I don't know if I know he's in the condition to play because I've been watching him play for the under 21s. I know he's had some proper game time this season, so he was an option. Enzo wasn't doing well, not to mention Reggie Walsh, who played 12 seconds at most. And as Nick said, I don't agree with managers making those subs super late in the game. It reminded me of that Batshuayi sub when Conte was manager, that the game literally finished after that. I kind of felt bad for Reggie there. But yeah, I know his options aren't ideal at the moment, but he does have options. And again, it's something we've been saying for a while now. He has to trust the players, the youngest players that are in the squad, because they won't get the experience he wants them to get. They will only get the experience that he wants them to get as long as they play, and they are not playing that much. I mean, Shim getting like 20 minutes today was nice. Other than us being goofed by the FA, the Mark Q news is crazy. We should have been let know before. But yeah, we got options. We just need to trust them more because otherwise, we were talking about how in October we'd be looking bad. We're looking bad now. And we still got, what, 3 games to go, 2 games to go. So it's kind of worrying.
Nick, as we take a look at this, there were also some maybe just like odd decisions in kind of the deployment and structure. I know Nath mentioned the fact that we did change some things in the second half. The first half, there were a couple of oddities. Just Jorgensen's goalkeeping performance altogether. You had the swapping of sides from Garnacho and Gittins, who were actually starting to like press effectively, and then we switched, and it just kind of completely destabilized everything. Did you agree with those, or did you see other things that just maybe were head scratching in that first half, and maybe things that you liked that you saw with the second half performance?
Yeah, I think the odd part about the first half for me is you have this insistence, of course, with Malagusto not being like an inverting fullback, right? You have this insistence for him to bomb up the wing, which is totally fine because he's much more effective in those areas. But West Fofana is not fit to play in a back three with just coverage from Andre Santos in this game. I mean, that was your back four. And Lincoln identified that pretty early, along with the fact that Joel Hato was leaving the space behind almost all game to have people attack Wes. And then Wes gets punched in the back of the head because Philip Jorgensen absolutely cannot claim any sort of cross in a dangerous area. And it just made for a pretty disastrous cocktail there. Malagusto's nowhere to be found because his responsibility is further up the pitch. And then West Fofana is clearly not right after he gets punched in the head for the rest of the half. I think looked okay-ish in the second half, but I'm a little bit surprised that Joel Hato wasn't brought back into the back three as that left cover, that Fofana wasn't allowed to freelance a little bit more in that center spot, and that Trev didn't hold down the right as much as I anticipated. And then the goal itself, I mean, Enzo Fernandez and Trev Chalobah are both experienced players. Enzo knows not to play that ball, and Trev knows that he has to attack the ball, and neither one does it. And it's just You could have played the Benny Hill music the entire first half for Chelsea. It was a comedy of errors all over the pitch. And again, I don't necessarily. I look at this lineup and I can't imagine that these players have trained together in this setup very often. But that's Maresca's job, is to do that, to set them up for success, to go like, hey, some of you are going to be starters against Brighton and some of you are going to be starters against Lincoln. And we need the Lincoln group, to play against whoever as an 11 to get ready for this game. And it was a shambles across the board. I mean, injuries be damned, but there are some basics just lacking in this game that shouldn't require your preferred starting 11.
Well, let's take a quick ad break. When we get back, I want to start talking a little bit about kind of what's ahead because, again, this game is undusted. Chelsea won 2-1. We're super happy with that. There's not a whole lot to take away, I think, from a lot of the
happy. Are we?
We're super happy with winning. Absolutely. Phenomenally. Yes. It is all
happy.
caps, underlined multiple times. We are happy.
Well,
Look, I'm just mandating it. You are both happy now with the Chelsea win tonight. Thank you very much. We're taking an ad break. We'll be right back. Look, we're still happy on this podcast. We're coming back in an ad break. Nick's laughing. Nath is laughing.
Never
We're having a
been
good
better.
time. But here's a real
Best
question.
game ever.
Chelsea are going to have to make do with some of those fitness and availability issues that are creeping up at the moment. There are a couple more games until Chelsea have the next international break, which could be doom and gloom. Could also be additional rest for a few players who maybe just might get the extra stay away from their international camps because of their physical conditioning at the moment, which would be super great. We'd love time away for Cole to continue to rehab. We'd love time away for, I don't know, why does Caicedo need to go anywhere? Just stay in London. That's a perfect idea.
Already qualified. I mean, what are we doing?
What are we doing here?
Come on.
So in the remaining games that Chelsea have between now and the international break, if there is one player that you could protect and say, hey, you are going to be the best managed in terms of your minutes and your appearances for now until then, who is the player you're picking, Nick?
I mean, there's three options for this question.
Well, but you pick one.
Right.
And then we can see if Nath agrees and picks the same person. And if not, we can go through maybe a couple of the others.
I think only because there is more depth in midfield to say that with like an asterisk. I'm going to go with Joao Pedro.
Kiddie pool depth or we're talking 3 foot depth? Like, what are we talking here?
It ain't that deep. I'm going to go Joao Pedro because,
Cool.
I mean, if we lose him, good night. I mean, the curtains can come down early on this one. If he's out for any long stretch of time.
Yeah, literally good night.
I mean, January's 4 months away.
Yeah, literally good night because Buonanotte is going to have to play. So, yeah.
I see. There you go. Nice. Yeah, very good.
But, yeah, I agree with João being one of those players, but Caicedo, for me, is unnegotiable in this team just because of what he has been doing for the past year or so. So, those two, yeah. And I feel like Reece as well. He's being well managed. Points from Maresca for that. But yeah, for me, it's those three players. And Cole, obviously, but I don't feel like he's playing. So,
hey, we're doing one option apiece here. What are you doing? 3, 4 options?
And 2 minutes later, she's listed half the team, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, the teacher yelled at me.
Four.
The teacher yelled at me, and now you get 5 different.
We course corrected here. We gave some constructive feedback on it. Look, I think in my mind, I would go with Caicedo as well as the number one individual. I just don't think anybody in that team is as close to replicating him. I do think it is very close, though, into what Nick is saying here with Joao Pedro in terms of the fact that he has scored a frequent number of goals for Chelsea at this point in the season. So you would be remiss to say when you have Mark Guiu available behind him that there's really not a true selection other than saying, hey, we're going to play Garnacho essentially and then figure out what to do there, or put Neto back centrally or put Shim centrally. Like there's a couple of options there that you could consider. None of them great in terms of the downgrade. I do think though that step down, while it is a massive step, it is like a I don't know. It is a hole to the center of the earth from Caicedo to the next option back down beneath him.
Oh, Dan, Lavia will be back soon. So,
Yeah,
I mean, there you go.
Look, Lavia is motivating himself with a Dembele situation. We saw the Instagram stories of Dembele's injury from Lavia.
Yeah,
He's going to be on the up and up.
We need to take Instagram away from the young man.
Look, Robert Sanchez with Comic Sans, Lavia with the Dembele story. We have a lot of questions about the Instagram usage right now.
That was Maresca at halftime. Comic Sans, what are we doing? Unbelievable.
So alternative question. We've rotated a couple players in. There have been some players who've kind of been frequently in or out. There's been players that have been sacrificed substitutions for players getting red cards in recent games. And so if you could lock in a player over these next 3 games, again, we have Brighton, we have Benfica, and we have Liverpool next 3 games before we go on that international break in October. What one player who is featured infrequently or not at all, or maybe limited subs, would you want to lock in and say, I want this player in terms of maximum opportunity over the next 3 games? That could be starts. It could be the first player off the bench. Who is that person, Nath, that you want us Chelsea supporters to get a chance to see who you think is going to impact the game? And why is it Estevao?
I was going to say Andre.
Oh, okay. Damn. Burn. I knew it was going to be one of the two.
Yeah. But I was just going to say, I was going to go with Andre just because I feel like he should be starting Premier League games, not only cup games. And I feel like this run we have, Brighton and Liverpool, are 2 games where he could make a difference, I don't know if he starts just because Maresca is someone who I can't understand, but I feel like he could be that 12th man in that situation. So, but I do agree with you when you said Steven, just because we don't have anyone else. Bonanote is just not that guy for me at the moment. And I feel like without Cole, the one player that gets closer to what he can do is Steven. So it will be interesting as well, because it would be an opportunity for him to, not grow, but have those minutes to develop better to the Premier League, because we already spoke about it. The rhythm is different, the intensity is different. He's showing that he can get there quickly, but he needs game time to do that. And after he was subbed against United, that would have been a great opportunity to see where he is and where he's going, actually, because he's played a few games already. But yeah, I just feel like those 2 for me, no bias at all, I promise. But those 2 for me are the players that we should be seeing, if not starting the 3 games, being the first sub Maresca makes, like at 60 minutes or so they can actually play proper minutes and make a difference there.
Both of them are going to play massive. Dan, I'm going to go with Gaga Slonina.
No
what
bias.
We're seeing from our goalkeeping crew at this moment, it's been a tough watch. So get on in here, Gaga. I on a serious note, I think it's Josh. I don't understand. You've seen this back line, this makeshift back line with an unfit West Fofana, with an error-prone Tosin, even Trev making mistakes, and a Hato who doesn't necessarily fit in quite yet, and either Reece James or Malo Gusto, both of whom, I think would prefer to be a little further up the field. And I think you have an opportunity, if you're Maresca, to just have a reset on this for a second, to play Josh at right center back, to play Trevor Tosin in the middle, to, potentially bring in, someone like Wes on the left, or even Cucurella on the left, and really solidify this thing up, and then send Malo Gusto or Reece James up the field, or maybe Cucurella, depending on the, the calibration that you want to put together. Josh can pass the ball. He's athletic. He can make up the spaces left behind. I don't understand why we haven't seen more of him to this point, given all of the shambolic defending that we've seen. And we have to remember that this team only improved on defensive reliability last year from the year before. We gave up like 25 less goals last season. That's why we were able to climb the table to be in the Champions League. Without a super high improvement in goal scoring output, which I have huge questions about with all the injuries up front, especially if Cole's out for any extended period of time. This is the time to go into lockdown mode and make sure that you're not giving up stupid shit and that you're giving a really talented guy in Josh the requisite time to bet into this team and to make an impact. And I can't imagine that Maresca is looking at this any other way because it is just logic. So that is my argument, Dan.
It's a strong argument. I don't think many people are going to disagree with you there that watching some of the recent performances at center back, that there isn't something that could be done. I think what would have been best is maybe during the summer, after we found out about Levi's injury, figuring out if you could have upgraded. But that's neither here nor there because that's done.
You haven't done the time machine yet? Have you?
No, I'm not invented a time machine yet. I'm sorry. I will work on that between now and the next episode. I promise you that. What about last one? I'm going to wrinkle one here because I didn't mention we were going to do this one. We've also seen a bunch of players who maybe are getting minutes right now. We're like, I kind of would like to see somebody else featuring or starting. I think their minutes would be better allocated to another player. Who is the individual that you would maybe want to see not feature as much over those next 3 games?
Enzo.
Not that Maresca has a lot of choice.
It's Enzo. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with him. I don't know if it's a fitness thing. I don't know if he's like, he could be like a Lampard back in the day where Lampard basically had to like play himself into fitness if he came into camp a little bit unfit, let's say. And I think there are plenty of stories about that. Once Lampard played, obviously, and I'm wearing a shirt right now, like he got into unbelievable form and then scored 20 goals a season for basically my entire 20s. And so I just like, I don't know what's up. He doesn't look like the same even the same mobility that we saw from him last year. He's not an overly athletic guy, but like we're seeing just really slow, really plodding. The decision making on the ball is shocking to me right now. Like he's just not processing fast enough.
Is maybe, and I'm just going to question it from what we saw in this match, the last 2 matches. Do you feel like some of that is down to maybe just who's available in attack and like how quickly he potentially can have an outlet? Or do you think, like, I guess percentage wise, like how much of it is him and his performance and how much of it is the players around him?
70-30. I mean, the rotation up top couldn't help matters for sure, but he doesn't. I think part of the reason we're also like seeing him pick fights and shit is because I think he just knows he's not playing that great.
Yeah.
And I think he's lashing out a little bit. Like the Mason Mount stuff last weekend was super weird to me, considering Mason Mount was on the field for like 2.5 minutes when that whole thing went down. And like, I know they have a thing, but like you were kind of terrible the entire match too. So that probably wouldn't be the moment for me. I definitely want to see Andre play in his place. And see how it goes. Because look, here's what we know right now. The midfield is probably not going to be fully healthy until January, like fully healthy. You know, Lavia will go through his ups and downs. I made that joke earlier. Asugo is not going to be back until God knows when. But if it's a quads are a big part of how you run. So that's going to be one it takes a while to come back from. You got to get Andre minutes immediately so that he's able to perform at a level and sub either Caicedo or Enzo. My take.
Yeah, same.
All right, well, let's take our last ad break. When we get back, we'll do a little bit of up and down, talking about players who are on the up and maybe players who are on the down. I think we previewed a little bit of some Enzo thoughts there. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Okay, so it's the idea of like who's helping, who's hurting, the players that are maybe finding form regardless of how the team is performing, and players who are maybe struggling to be the best versions of themselves. Because again, we view this in a totality of time, and a lot of these players have been generally good to very good, and some even great within their role. And maybe at this point in time, they're not super great. And I think it's very fair when players aren't great to be like, hey, they're not necessarily helping at this very moment. Let's I'm just going to start with a gimme and add a little bit of like the more of the positive spin at top. What about Ty George? Give me Ty George. Nath, what are we saying?
Banger of a goal today.
That's what he does. He's a top striker, not striker as center forward, but he knows how to strike a ball. His striking ability is crazy. He's been showing that forever. So, but he's not a nine. He's not a center forward, and it's sad to see him there because it doesn't suit him and it doesn't really help the team. People are like, "Oh, he's a ghost. He comes in and do nothing." It's because he's not playing where he should be playing, although he did well today, holding up the ball, the defender, and doing the pivot for Buonanotte to score. But yeah, that's not his main position. That doesn't really suit his attributes. So as much as he's on an up at the moment, I'd like to see him on an up. I don't know, maybe playing with João Pedro, maybe then he can be the nine, switching with João Pedro, at times him being the second striker, number 10, and João Pedro being the 9, vice versa. And yeah, if not, then give a shot to Gil and let him play as this second striker, 10 as well. But yeah, he totally deserves minutes, especially after his move to Fulham not happening. And he's a player that's talented. He's a player who I just said can strike a ball. He can score goals. He scored against Fulham and made a complete difference in our season last season. So yeah, I feel like he should be trusted more in a position that suits him best. And he's been showing that by his performances, you know. It hasn't been great, but he's been growing. And this goal I feel like is gonna make a huge difference in the way he performs next.
Nick, what about Malo Gusto? Up, down, in between?
I mean, I think it's so formation and lineup dependent with him. Like, I would like him to stop shooting the ball.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good idea.
If we could stop the shooting of the football over the bar from the left weak foot, that would be tremendous. I think he's doing some good stuff, and I know that's not going to be like mega popular with everybody, but like when he overlaps, especially when he overlapped, with Gittins and the way that the rotation happened, like it was helpful in the way that we finally were able to kind of get a hold of the ball. We didn't have control of the ball for the first 30 minutes of this game against Lincoln. It was fucking wild. And the team couldn't pass outside of the back three. Like it was bonkers. So I kind of think, in this early part of the season, I don't mind seeing Malo Gusto if we have a game plan to utilize him. If he's being asked to do silly stuff like invert, then absolutely not. Then Josh should be playing ahead of him. But if you're going to use him as a runner and try and get him upfield and help him overlap or underlap with some of the talent that's on the right, especially if Cole Palmer is going to be out and they need a little bit of extra help, I don't mind it.
All right. So then, I mean, we already kind of talked a little bit about Andre Santos and gave him some love up top. How about Jorgensen, Nath? Maresca on Jorgensen talked about how it's Phillips' first game of the season, so it's not easy. That was his comment.
I read that as this is Phillips' first game ever.
Yeah, ever. I feel like the Conference League kind of played us a bit because of the opposition he had to face. But yeah, I don't know what's up with our goalkeeping, scouting, or recruitment, or everything together because we've had those goalkeepers arriving at the club at the last 3 years or so, and they all suck. They are supposedly brought to the club because they suit Maresca because he plays with his feet and everything. But honestly, every time Sanchez and now Jorgensen plays, they just prove to me at least that they are not good enough. Especially Jorgensen. I don't even know what to say. It was a disaster. I mean, I felt like I could do a better job than him claiming balls.
Sanchez had a red card in the 5th minute against United, and Sanchez had a better performance than what we saw in Jorgensen today.
Wow.
Yeah,
epic
I have
line
a question.
from the podcast.
It's an honest question now. Because here in Brazil, when someone gets a straight red, they have to not play. they are suspended for like 3 games. I was wondering if that happens to Sanchez. I remember there was something like that. And if we
One.
don't have Sanchez against Brighton,
It's one game, so he'll be back because
yeah,
it wasn't violent conduct.
yeah, okay,
Violent conduct is a 3+ game suspension.
yeah,
This
okay.
was just a dogzo. So
Then we're
yeah,
less fucked than I thought we would be. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. 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 I never thought I would be calling for Sanchez to come back to the starting lineup. Never ever.
No better cure, Dan,
Never
than
ever.
the Sanchez red card than seeing Jorgensen continue to screw up cross and set piece opportunities against
Well,
Lincoln
I mean,
City.
because here's the thing, because that is what Sanchez is actually like really superior
Good
at.
at.
Like
Yeah.
his cross claiming is very, very good. Like that is one of the best things that he does, kind of relative to other keepers, kind of within his like global position, but also in the Premier League. So like, there's always been this conversation of, do you enjoy what Sanchez does, and can you find like the lateral upgrade replacement on a couple of things that he doesn't do well, which was the whole Mannion thing earlier, because like there are not a lot of like good options for upgrades just like sitting out there. It would take you back in certain things, like, but it would give you benefits elsewhere. And so because it's like a half, you don't necessarily make that move. What
Yeah.
about Pedro Neto, Nick? Give me Pedro Neto, up, down, in between.
He's down for me right now. He's clearly not fit, or leggy from last season. I mean, we have to remember that before he came to Chelsea, he had like 3 injury riddled seasons at Wolves and barely played, I think, half of the matches. And last season, of course, is able to stay healthy because we're able to rotate a lot. Was called upon to do an incredible amount of work, not only up top and sparing Nico Jackson when he went down with injury and then suspension, but also just like unselfish running and tracking back and all the stuff that I think a lot of people really admire about him. It's just not there right now. He looks slow and uh, doesn't look like he's able to kind of get the burst right now. And so for me, it's down. And I would hope that maybe a little bit of a maybe a substitute sort of vibe for a
Yeah.
little bit would help him kind of get back up to full speed.
Yeah, that's a player I totally forgot when we were talking about players that need to have minutes managed. And I feel like Pedro Neto is one of them, especially after the Club World Cup. He played like it was a tournament of his life. And he went to play the Euros as well. And Euros, no, the Nations League. And he won it as well. So that's going to take a toll on him now. And I feel like if we manage him, we can kind of recover him quicker. And yeah, I still feel like he's an important player. I don't feel like he's shit like some people think he is. But I don't know. The options we have are not ideal in my opinion, but we still got options that are good enough to rotate. So I feel like Pedro is one of the players we could rotate with Jamie Gittins, on the left, on the right. We saw him playing both sides as well today, just like Pedro Neto did last season. So yeah, I feel like we could see that. Although I'm not sold on Gittins yet. I know we're going to talk
Well,
about
Nat,
him.
that's the
so
next one. Yeah.
I'm
So
starting.
not sold
Yeah.
on Gittins. Yeah. Get into it.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Gittins because I don't know. I just feel like I haven't seen enough of him, and what I've seen so far hasn't kind of made me happy. I just feel like he's mid at the moment. I don't know if he's adapting to the Premier League again because he left. I don't even feel like he played in the Premier League, so he was just in the City Academy, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, there's a player there, but at the moment, I feel like we need to rotate him. We can't see him like as a bad player or as an immediate starter because for me, he's like in between. But again, I don't know if he's up or down. I'm kind of in between, he's figuring it out. And I feel like I'm still trying to figure him out as well.
I will say just the effort was better today from him.
Yeah.
So I think he's probably just like adapting to like the requirements of being a winger and the system and all the running that you have to do. And so I that part I was like, okay, there's definitely like week
There's
over
a
week
player
improvement.
there. Yeah.
But yeah, the final product's just not there yet. And so he's gonna have a long adaptation period, I think, to get to where we need him to be.
All right. Well, I mean, I think the last one that I would want to throw in there is just Garnacho, Nick. I mean, do you have a thought on what you've seen so far from him? Getting booed from the Lincoln City fans. That was
That was because he got stepped on and then he kind of flopped, and that was it. That was the entire reason for all the booing. Yeah, I think you basically you're in a position where you have to play him. Like, this is the guy that you or the sporting directors desperately wanted. If you're Maresca in the team, you waited all window for him to get him at a price, and you did the whole photo shoot and everything with him. You got to play him now. And I don't think what I've seen so far has been wonderful, but it's, again, it's limited minutes. And so I think between now and the next international break, he should get a real run out and see what he can do, because that left side has not gone well at all this season so far. It's certainly not balanced out the right side. And so I would foresee some sort of like Garnacho, maybe, maybe it's Garnacho, Stevao, and Gittins in whatever rotation you want to put him in there, or Joao Pedro back and Guillou up top. I think you're going to see a little bit of shifting around, but you're probably going to have to play him now.
Well, look, there was some up and downs and in betweens for players who are currently in the squad right now. Just in terms of the League Cup, I mean, Chelsea advanced into the fourth round, which is super fantastic, alongside teams like Liverpool and Ekitike picking up a red card in the most ridiculous fashion ever. Takes off the jersey, gets the red card because he gets the second yellow. Fantastic, no notes. Teams like Wrexham have advanced. Grimsby goes for it another time as well. So the fighting Grimsby's absolutely getting it done on the day. Cardiff beating Burnley. I guess that was a kind of interesting or fun one. Wolves beating Everton. Not doing great in the Premier League, but Everton losing on the day. Wrexham beating Reading. They continue to be a fun story. Crystal Palace beating Millwall in penalties. Brentford beating Aston Villa in penalties. You want to talk about teams, Nick, that like just sliding doors. You're like, wow, I'm glad I'm a Chelsea supporter and not like an Aston Villa supporter right now. Like our friend Matt Law, friend of the pod. You should talk to him about that. Like, better or worse? Better being a Chelsea supporter right now or an Aston Villa supporter right now? Because I think we could doom and gloom, but then you look at some other teams in the Premier League, you're like, I wouldn't want to be in that dumpster fire.
You got to scroll way down the Premier League table to see Aston Villa right now. That's a tough beat for old Matt Law.
Any other fun results? Any other fun things you remember that you're going to take away from this third round of the League Cup?
I think it's worth noting that Brighton did exactly what they should have done against Barnsley and beat them 6-0. That's what I had hoped for today from One Chelsea Football Club. And despite Brighton selling everybody to us, mostly, and some other teams, they are still playing okay. Like, they gave Tottenham everything that they wanted at the weekend, and I think Saturday is going to be a tough match now.
Well, look, we do again have Brighton, Buonanotte not available to play on that one. So just keep that in mind.
Live after the game. Join us in celebration or despair on my birthday. Please don't let it be despair.
It is going to be a birthday dub for Nick Verlaney, and we're going to celebrate it on a YouTube live. And then he's going to go out and have a fun time drinking that afternoon. That's what I know. Look, that's going to do it for this episode. And don't forget, we have, again, Matt Law Pod this week. We have a Brighton preview this week. We'll have that YouTube live after Brighton. Tons more content coming next week as well. Wonderful new newsletters from our friend Sam, CFC Central. Get involved on Discord, free and paid ways to do that there. Leave 5-star reviews in Apple's Podcasts and Spotify. It's always appreciated. And then if you're on YouTube, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave wonderful comments saying nice things or less nice things. If you feel inclined to do that, we'll just filter them out and delete them, but you can leave them for the engagement. Lols. And then hit the bell icon to get notified. Super appreciate it. But until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying.